Thank you, veterans. Chapter 10, Veterans Thanksgiving Celebration. Just as Annabelle expected, Mrs. Mitchell loved the idea of the drama club performing the Thanksgiving skits. She thought a little humor would be a great way to end the celebration, as well as include Mrs. Phillips and the drama club on the program. Mrs. Mitchell's students talked about their class trip to the Veterans Recreational Center yesterday, and everyone had a lot of terrific experiences and stories to share with one another. Tyler began by telling everyone about how he and his partner Caleb interviewed a 78-year-old man who had fought in the Vietnam War. The veteran said he was happy to get out alive, but many of his friends didn't. Caitlin told how she and her partner, Kara, had interviewed a woman who was 58 years old. She was a hospital corpsman in the Navy. Caitlin said she was very friendly and told them that afterwards she received a degree in teaching and became a substitute teacher. Barry and his partner, David, interviewed a 60-year-old man who was a pilot in the Gulf War. He said that he still has his own personal plane that he flew from time to time. Annabelle and Victoria shared their experience with Emma, the feisty nurse, who had served in the Army. The stories and experiences all the students had to share were priceless. It was a valuable field trip they would remember for years to come. The day finally came for the Veterans Thanksgiving celebration. The whole school wore variations of the colors red, white, and blue in their clothing. All the veterans were brought into the gymnasium because that was the biggest space in the school. Drummers were playing some marching music as they paraded in. The veterans took their seats in chairs arranged in two rows across the stage. Mr. Jefferson had set up the military color guard from the nearby Veterans Association to come for the beginning of the program that was held in the morning. They were very serious as they marched to the center of the gymnasium. They held the American flag, the state flag, and a lot of other flags as they led everyone in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Star Spangled Banner. Afterwards, the whole school sat in amazement at the display of it all. Mr. Jefferson gave the initial welcome address and the statement of purpose. He kept his speeches really short. For the rest of the program, the students did everything. The presenters read very short stories and poems. The last poetry reader was Annabelle. She dedicated her poem to her grandpa and all of the other brave veterans on the stage. Her poem went like this: Veterans. Veterans are very special. They really, really are. They have helped protect our country from enemies near and far. Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Marines, and the Air Force, too, make up the five armed service branches. Each of them is tried and true. Men and women working together to achieve some common goals, which are peace, security, protection, and help for our country as a whole. So today we truly salute you for your thorough work you've done. Your courage through hard times, your bravery will not be undone. Each of you is number one. After Annabelle's final poem, the audience stood and clapped for all the veterans. Mrs. Mitchell went to the podium and gave the closing remarks, talking about the trip to the Veterans Recreational Center. She mentioned how the students bonded with some of the brave men and women who had served our country. She talked about the awesome learning experience the students took away from this social studies unit. And lastly, she spoke of all the hard work the students had put into this project and the celebration, and how very proud she was of each and every one of them. All the students were very proud to be a part of this wonderful celebration of veterans right in their very own school. The next and final part of the celebration was the lunch that was prepared for all the veterans. The PTA had the lunch provided by a food service. The presenters walked their relatives into the auditorium and sat them at special tables. During lunch, the drama club presented a very funny skit called Thanksgiving Day, which made the audience laugh. They had talking turkeys, pilgrims, and Native Americans. This was a fictional story that Mrs. Phillips actually wrote herself. The audience really enjoyed watching the entire performance. This would be a day that Annabelle would never forget. And to think, the very idea for this program came from Annabelle herself. Her idea certainly made a lot of people happy, which is what Annabelle tried to do each and every day. Chapter 10 is finished. I have a question for you. Why was the field trip to the Veterans Recreational Center valuable to the class? Discuss this with your friends. Also, don't forget to answer Annabelle's discussion corner questions at the end of the book. Bye.